What is up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of After Ultra Review. Today, we're going to be looking at the Altra Riveras. Spoiler alert, these did explode on me. Now, we're going to be talking a lot about that throughout the whole video, just because it is a huge determining factor when you're reviewing a shoe and the final score of the shoe. But first, let's get into a little bit of background of my time in the Altra Riveras. I ran the M2M Ultra Marathon. It was a 55-mile race where you start in Manchester, New Hampshire. You run the roads and some dirt roads all the way to a local mountain, Mount Monadnock or Monadnock. I'm still not sure how to say it, but you run up to the mountain, climb up the entire mountain, go down, and then you end on the other side of the mountain. But let's jump right into the first category, which is fit and feel. Now, for fit and feel, out of the box, I absolutely hated the fit and feel of the Riveras just because I was expecting that good wide toe box of a standard Ultra shoe. This is the Torin 5s where you can see this side kind of bulges out, so you have a lot more room for your toe box, where for the Riveras, they used a different last. So the last, this is their slim version last, maybe using this as a stepping stone to get people into their more aggressive toe box and their wider toe boxes with the Torins and the Olympus 4s and everything like this. So this might be actually branded as more of a transitionary shoe for people that are looking into this wide toe box style of shoes. If I was to give the Riveras an out-of-box fit and feel score, it probably would have been like a 2, just because it just felt like a standard shoe and like kind of a cheap standard shoe. But after that 75 miles of breaking it in and stretching everything out, I really started to enjoy it. And it bumped that score up to probably like a 4. It really felt like a Torin 5 just with a really tight upper, and it felt a lot faster just because my foot was like really tight in the shoe, and it felt like it was kind of morphed to my foot, so I could really articulate as much as I wanted to with the shoe. It is a very flexible shoe anyways, so with that really tight upper, there was no real movement when it really conformed my foot, where I could move it and articulate it as wanted for this shoe. So from a 2 to a 4, let's just give the fit and feel of the Rivera a nice standard 3. Now that is still kind of a low score, but when you expect a shoe coming from Ultra to have a lot more room, you shouldn't really have to break in a shoe for about 75 miles. That's a little bit crazy. So let's move right into usability. This, of course, is just a standard road running shoe, probably morely meant for easy days, not really a fast shoe or anything like that. I had no problems with slippage, no problems with like wet weather, even on gravel and really well kept trails. I wasn't slipping all over the place. I think it's just because this is such a squishy kind of midsole that the rocks would kind of sink in, so it would give you a little bit more grip, if that makes any sense. There's this little grid pattern that gives you good grippage, but I kind of wore it out just because I was pretty rough on these shoes. Now this, once again, this wear pattern is probably around 200 to 300 miles, so I was expecting it to hold up a little bit better than this. It's basically all gone, but even without that, this midsole is pretty grippy in itself. It's just probably at this point, this shoe is going to become useless probably in the next 50 to 100 miles if it didn't explode. You can see on these Torin 5s, I probably have about 300 miles on this Torin 5, and it has about the same amount of tread wear, a little bit better on the Torin 5. So this did get kind of beat up just because it is a little bit softer of a shoe than the Torin 5s. Once again, the midsole on the Riveras are the Ultra Ego, And then for the Torin 5s, they have the Ultra Ego Max. It's a little bit harder than the standard Ego. So this is a little bit softer of an actual shoe. This shoe kind of reminds me of a cut down version of the Hoka midsole, where it's very squishy and there is a little bit of return when you strike your foot down. This once again is a 26 millimeter stack. So you do have a lot of protection from the trails, from anything that's on the road, but there's not much of energy return on this shoe. It's kind of more of a minimalistic style shoe, just with a little bit more protection with that 26 millimeter stack. For usability, we're going to give this a good 4 out of 5. For usability, it does everything that you want in a regular road shoe. It just doesn't make you better or help you out in any way. Now, the biggest thing, and this is going to be the absolute crusher, is durability for the Altra Riveras. Now, I know it's become a standard, or at least I don't know if it's just a shoe marketing thing where you should be switching out your shoes every 200 miles, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, because if you have enough money to switch out your shoes every 200 miles, I would be spending so much freaking money on shoes. So I try to get at least 400 to 500 miles of usage of my shoes, just because I'm not made out of money. But this shoe, this Altra Riviera, is only 200 to 300, probably around 250 miles in, and the side blew out, and there is absolutely no using this shoe anymore. If if the tread wears out, whatever, I can work with it. I can transition it into an easy day and just run slow in it. But with the engineered mesh ripping, this makes this shoe absolutely useless. And I only really got 200 to 250, maybe even 300 miles of durability on this shoe. Another thing with the durability on the shoe you may see is the compression of the midsole. So you see this folding right here. It's starting to actually compress quite a bit. I never had any problems with the Ultras with this actual compression. The Olympus 4s, I put in maybe 400 miles or around 500 miles in that shoe, and I never saw this wrinkle. I never saw any compression on the midsole whatsoever. For the tread, it kind of got worn out a lot more than I would want, and even in this exposed midsole area, it's starting to rip quite a bit. So for durability, this has been quite a big letdown, probably one of the worst parts of the Altra Riveras. I've never had quite a bad problem with the durability of Ultras, especially with their trail shoes, but we might have to talk a little bit about that later with the Torin 5s, because something might have happened. Stay tuned for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the durability of the shoe really let me down. We're going to have to give this a 1.5 on this shoe, just because it was so freaking bad, and it actually exploded where this shoe is unusable. But just to wrap up this shoe, this is kind of Ultra's forgotten shoe. It's kind of their transitionary shoe. People that are kind of curious about getting into this wide toe box area. The fit and feel out of the box was like a 2. It stretched out and felt really good into a 4. Now it's at a 3. Just because you shouldn't have to break in a shoe for 75 miles to actually make it feel good. For usability, once again, it does everything that it says it's supposed to do. It's just a regular standard road shoe where you could use it for easy days and maybe everyday trainers. Not really a fast shoe or too clunky or anything like that. Just a standard regular shoe. So we got a 4 out of that. And then durability, it exploded. It's starting to rip on this side also. Starting to rip on that side also, and then it completely blew out on this other shoe. So with the durability of the actual shoe ripping, the compression, and then the pretty bad tread wear, this got a 1.5 out of 5. So the Altra Riveras are coming in at a total of 8.5 out of 15. So there you have it. That was the Altra Riveras, an 8.5 out of 15. Not that great of a score, but I do see what they were trying to get at, and it did hold up for me for that ultra marathon. So Hopefully they beef this up just a little bit. Other than that, I do have a lot more shoe reviews coming out, a lot more gear reviews. I have 200 milers that are going to be hidden in 2022, a lot more ultra marathons leading up to those. So make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe. So get out there, chip away, and slowly become an average savage. Don't be afraid to blow out your shoes, because it's bound to happen when you're freaking running towards your goals and taking your freaking bitch made self and punching it in the face every single day. Get out there, chip away, become an average savage. Let's do it. Let's go.